Hello everyone, welcome back to the another episode of the Tech Guy podcast. Episode number 18. Today we do have a lot of discuss something newer in terms of not just a news basically, but something that interesting topic I got this week. Then let's see. Again we have AI talk this episode. Then there is big news. Then there are a couple of small news from Apple here and there. Let's see. But one interesting happened. For the first time, my Opera GX browser was crashed. I use couple of browsers. Like I mostly for like main browsers I have that I use regularly. There is no one default browser, but Opera is a default browser for me where I use much regularly. Where I watch YouTube, I do most of the stuff. But I do use also Chrome. I do also use Edge. I also use I think the uh, Arc browser. I do have that, but I don't use that much. But once in a week, one or two times, every browser I do get to use it. So for the first time, OpenGX like it automatically got crashed and recovered itself and give me a message right Opera GX has recovered from the crash. It happened first time for me and I was like scared. It's like is the data on my Opera GX is gone, the logins, some kind of stuff. But it didn't. It recovered itself. But that happened couple of days ago. Then then also one thing I tried this week was I'm still like trying and it's insanely good is Notebook LM. If you don't know Notebook LM is kind of an you can say an to put it in an example, if ChatGPT is kind of an just giving prompts and getting you back the answer and editing it here and there, Notebook LM takes customization to whole another level. It it is basically it has lot of things in it, but it can produce yours whatever the PDF you are providing to it into fucking podcast. That literally it got introduced last year in Google I/O event, but I didn't try that much. I tried it a couple of months ago and then I forgot about it. But now the way it is insanely good and it is free. Like most of you can try it. You can turn it into a podcast. You can given like there are three sections in it. You can feed it with the information. It uses Gemini 2.5. Uh, I think yeah, not the latest one I think, but it does. So it is insanely good. If you are a student who wants to get kind of a concept clear for yourself in a uh, like getting understanding it, just feed it with the PDF it the concept you want to get it good in it, and then create a podcast. Like it's a conversation of a man and a woman in like having conversation and telling you how whatever the context in the PDF is and explaining you that stuff, and you can modify it according to how you want to explain me in a really dumb way or make it like changes are so many kind of things. uh, I will definitely talk in depth in like couple of next podcasts. I will say if you want me to, but do give it a try. It's insanely good. Yeah, it's fucking insane. So that is what happened. Then there was tariff this week. Trump announced tariff, and even though I'm not kind of an expert in terms of economics, but we literally can see that how economy has just gone down. Uh, the way it is going to affect the tech industry that we talk about weekly is going to be insane, and it has started affecting um, specifically when last couple of 2 days ago when Nintendo Switch 2 got launched, just the day I think when Trump tariff were placed, like got announced for specific countries, Nintendo has given a statement where uh, Nintendo has given a statement where for the US customers, The pre-orders will not start as what regular customers are all around the world. So it is people are like all companies are just going to figure out how they are gonna work around tariffs. The prices are going to get high. It is going to be difficult for companies and consumer at least for next couple of months because prices are going to get higher. If you are getting a new device which is in high end price range, do get now, because if you just wait couple of even weeks from now, you will definitely see an hike into those device prices. So even though we are not going to talk about those these three news kind of in depth in this podcast, but my reaction to it is like it is a complicated situation for companies, for people, especially for small entrepreneurs like which are working to get into the upper part, like getting to scale their business. So it is going to be hard, but let's see what happens. Whatever happens in the tech industry, prices are going to be higher or not, I will definitely cover in the next upcoming podcast, so like next week's podcast. Let's see what happens, because we still don't have data and because companies are still figuring it out. Let's see what happens. So in today's episode we have a couple of headlines. So first headline is uh, that is XAI has acquired Twitter, which is called X, uh, last week, which was kind of an like insane to think about. Like Elon Musk buying his own company is like, let's talk about it. Then the second big topic we are going to talk about, which is about AI, that is a research paper introduced by Anthropic. It is Anthropic is also an AI company which deals in much more research, and they have their own Claudia model, I think. But one of the interesting research they posted about it on their Twitter. You can go check it out. I will link down in the description their article, which is interesting. Uh, the research paper they have published it, but we are going to talk about it. Then we are going to talk about the Meta and Apple case going on in Brazil about ATT. Again, ATT I am going to explain further. Then some new iOS 18.4 features which might help you. Then at last there are some couple of small news regarding I think Google's YouTube, and the small news that we can talk in the end. So let's just get started with episode number 18 of the Tech Guy podcast. So the first headline is XAI has acquired Twitter, that is X now, that I got usually don't call X. Like again, I have always talked about how the horrible the naming is, but even the name is horrible, the company is not even doing good, even if it has changed the name. Other than Elon Musk's regime, it has been a loss. He, because of his statement there and because of his platform changes, platform has gone through ad recessions where companies have likely protested against it. Mostly kind of big companies like Disney have for majority chunk of the time had stopped the advertising on the platform X, which is the major chunk coming from these companies again with the advertisement. So that's why he also introduced the blue check mark, so where people have to pay for it. But let's see. So headlines. These are couple of so XAI, according to the news that we have gone and the tweet posted by Elon Musk, he says it has been acquired in all stock transaction. So basically, the stocks has been purchased by XAI of Twitter, that is of $33 billion of valuation in stocks plus $12 billion in debt, that is loan again on the company which is on Twitter. There are When he bought the company, he took some loan, so there is $12 billion of loan and $33 billion of stock, and which is value total valuation of $45 billion, which is again people are questioning about it because it $45 billion is a lot of big money. He purchased Twitter for I think for $40 billion couple of years ago, and people, economists who are expertise in this kind of stuff, financial, have always come forward and tell us that the valuation of Twitter has gone down so much that it is hard to recover from it was. But according to the Elon Musk post, the valuation they have made for X, it is $45 billion. But ultimately, no one cares about what kind of valuation it was being acquired by XAI, because both of the companies are being done by, like, are founded by Elon Musk. Sorry, not founded, like, are both companies, especially XAI is by Elon Musk and then X is purchased by Elon. So both companies are in the hands of Elon Musk. So it just doesn't make sense to argue over like valuation stuff, because some kind of financial decision that they have taken, which we will not know until and unless a good video comes out by a journalist, or a journalist posts something about it in future about making a in-depth research, that I will update and go check it out in future. But at least for right now, it is $45 billion of valuation. So the intention behind this, as simple as you can think, it is predictable that 600 million users of data will be used to train AI models of XAI, which is again quite a concern for a lot of people, which should not be, because it is already is in training with XAI. I don't think it was been not is it was not been trained before this. XAI has been training its model over, and not just XAI as Elon Musk. I personally do think, I don't know if we are going to get or going to go against, especially Meta over there training the model over Llama model, which is interesting over there too. And what about Google and their social media platform, which is not a social media platform but a video platform, which is insanely big, which is YouTube that you are seeing this right now. So it is completely kind of an big kind of a thing. So they were, I think, already using the data, but main objective of this transaction that they are talking about in this whole tweet is just helping the platform and XAI as a company to grow further by getting most of the data which most of the companies need it. So they are trying to find a legal way, I think, just to get the data of the people. So I will also link down the description, not the description, in the description, I will also link down the post done by Elon, which is just same what I talked about. But if you want to go to see, then my thoughts regarding is, there are multiple discussions about on the internet about how this can be a lot of like kind of a money laundering system, lot of things that are being speculated, but we are not going on speculations. I am going to talk about is specifically how it can benefit Twitter, which is X right now, but how the collaboration is going to basically uh, help Twitter in getting a better social media platform, which is in its worst kind of a phase. So it is difficult to understand what's uh, the game here for long term for Twitter. I totally understand what XAI is going to get from this deal, which is people's data of X and the lot of active users that are on daily basis, which is still me too. I am on also X. So I'm like, how is this deal going to get mostly improved for Twitter, which is still not been improved. Like Twitter is not been improved in terms of feeds, in terms of fake accounts, in terms of bots, uh, in terms of hate speech, especially where there should be some kind of moderation, which is not being done. There needs to be some kind of strict line between what you can post and what cannot, which is just been blurred on, especially on X. And now Meta is going on that same route that what Elon Musk has taken for like past 2 years, which is making community nodes as its fact checkers and removing actual fact checkers that we talked about a couple of episodes ago. So it is kind of an like, even though Twitter is more kind of an political news mostly based, and Meta's platform are much more about people's and mostly about uh, mostly family, friends. It is not much more that a kind of a political, I will say. But what happens on Twitter will eventually come down to the whole social media platform, where especially of Meta. But let's see what happens in future, because I think what Meta is doing well with the AI again, which is on especially platforms like, you know, threads that I use on mostly daily basis, just like as Twitter, which the feed of especially the for you feed has been changes. I don't know, it is with the help of what they have kind of a moderation against some kind of post, or just the feed feedback is such a good that they improve when you use it a lot much more, where Twitter is still to this date is not improving on day-to-day basis or even quarterly basis, which is still the same that such which was 6 months before. The only positive thing for me right now on Twitter is the integration, where I can, rather than spending 1 hour on Twitter, I will just spend like 15 to 20 minutes, where I can just get context of every fucking tweet, which I don't have to, you know, like God literally tells like which tweet is fake, which tweet is real. Like it is doing what the community note should be doing for every tweet, but that is the only positive thing about Twitter right now. But this whole transaction, I don't know how community notes is sorry, I don't know how the XAI is going to help Twitter in terms of content moderation, in terms of uh, clearing these kind of bots, fake accounts, hate speech, targeting hate speech people, you know. But let's see what happens, because there is no solid proof plan in this whole tweet that Elon Musk tweeted. It is just moving towards right direction kind of a speech that every company gives, where they don't have a solid plan. So let's see what happens in future. But right now, the XAI has acquired Twitter. So, which, let's say, any update is there in future about what kind of transaction it was? I will definitely update in this here. Let's talk about the now most interesting topic. I want to talk about this AI research paper published by Anthropic. You can go. I will link down the research paper link in the links description, and also the tweet. If you wanna follow Anthropic and the research. Um, so Anthropic did a research about, where, AI models has now kind of a reasoning option. When you type a prompt and you select the reasoning option, and then before giving the answers, it will take a time to give you answers. AI gives the reasoning, that is, it is going through the steps, it is going through the thinking, what kind of thing, what AI models are thinking before giving you answer. That is what we call the reasoning. Here, what they call, the actual term for it is COT, that is called chain of thoughts, which is basically, again, you will see here on the screen that whenever you uh, type a prompt and select reasoning, it goes through multiple reasoning steps to give your before even giving you an answer. So you can see what AI is thinking within itself to give you answer before it. So reasoning was really good, because people need to know what AI is thinking before giving the answer, because we need to know what it is thinking. We need to know its thinking process for the safety measures, for how we can improve it, or how much we can trust its answer. So Anthropic did a research in DeepSeek with the AI models of DeepSeek, then Sonnet and Claudia. Basically, these are the with the help of their reasoning model and also comparing with their normal models, which doesn't give in terms of reasoning steps, they compare itself. So rather than going into technical stuff, the conclusion of the whole research paper was the thinking, the reasoning done by these AI models are basically not same or basically totally different the answer that they give to. So basically what I'm trying to say here is that the reasoning done by, let's say, a DFC, and the things you are seeing, that the steps it is going through to give the answers to you of the prompt that you have basically given, is are not all the prompts, because AI is thinking something internally much more before giving you the answer, and it is not giving you those reasoning steps. So the conclusion came of this research paper was AI models are not giving you the all steps that they are thinking. So basically they are like hiding or not. There are also multiple integral levels into this thinking, let's say. This is the simplest form I can explain it here. So basically the whatever the AI model is thinking whenever the reasoning is going on, that is not just all about what we see before it gives the answer. There are also some internal thoughts that AI is going through that they are not providing us in front of us. So that was the end of the research paper, where they basically much more in depth in terms of research paper. They have a PDF of 9 to 10 pages where you can go check it out in terms of if you are a developer or if you want to go in depth with regarding it. So this is how basically the conclusion of the research paper was, which was interesting, so much interesting, because you know AI models and the safety of these AI models are so negligible. Like not just AI models, I will say, but any kind of stuff we produce as human beings, we try to ignore the benefits here and ignore the safety of this. Anything of it is we done is like bottom stuff. Safety should be always the priority. So uh, again here people, I don't know how many people will talk about this, but I think this was an interesting look out where the answer was we still and cannot trust basically AI again, obviously. But even if it's the reasoning model which can help you trust it more, you can say now that not every step is much more helpful or even safest or even foolproof that you can trust it. Okay, that's the conclusion here. Again, now in the research paper they have said that this is a particularly much more, you can say, not a broader test with multiple uh, angles fitting in. It is much more particular to particular questions to particular stuff. Okay, simpling it down. So in that research paper they have said that there can be different research paper, like different stuff. Like what they have ultimately said is that ultimately they have only particularly explained the stuff in there, like there can be different ways of doing this kind of research, which gives can which can give us more context regarding this kind of stuff. But the conclusions they came, the theory they basically given to us is that from their research. Okay, so what they are trying to say is ultimately in the conclusion section is like there can be other ways, there are multiple angles they didn't try on it right now, but what they are trying to say is like we still can't trust the reasoning models, we still need to know what internally AI is going through. Again, which is interesting topic to talk about, because when the first time reasoning, I think last year, was introduced, I think uh, OpenAI by ChatGPT, like ChatGPT, where they give a where they in ChatGPT, I think it's called thinking, where it thinks before giving the answer, basically, the thinking models, and you can see the steps that it is going through for the answer that you're giving. But now that we have the test here, now that this research paper says that AI models are thinking but not telling you everything, they are going internally. So it is kind of an, you know, quite a dilemma that we still can't trust these models. We need to improve every day. We need to always question the stuff, especially in science. And I think everyone should address and agree with it, especially when it comes to this kind of research paper, rather than calling it or rather than just ignoring stuff. I think we should mostly talk about this kind of stuff more, again about safety, again about innovative, because innovation doesn't come or just doesn't come just because you are developing stuff ahead and ahead. It comes questioning everything. It comes about when you question everything and question and answer it with counterpoints. Okay, it's like back and forth, and it was an interesting test, I will say. So let's see what happens, where in future stuff is there kind of this level of interesting, because when I first saw this post by Anthropic, I was actually interested in this. Like, AI models are not telling you what internally they are thinking, even if you are asking them about it, you know, the internal thoughts, the reasoning. So it is kind of an interesting way to look at it. So let's see. Chain of thoughts. I'm much more kind of an interested in this kind of research paper. Um, the reason why I am interested in this kind of stuff, even though people will ignore it, is because the stuff people are interested in is how where they can use it, and we again, as generally most of the people won't see the downsides of things, you know, like how we talked about last week about the Ghibli art trend that was going on, and the Twitter was just flooded with those artworks. Even Instagram with the photos, everything was flooded with Ghibli art. And majority of the people, yeah, don't even know what is Ghibli. It's just that OpenAI calls it a Ghibli art. They are talking about a Ghibli art. And then we talk about how AI is taking over the art industry, and with the Sora model, with the movie gen introduced by Meta, which is just insane that how it just replicates human life videos, that is real life videos, that are no consequences to it. Like how I talk about the safety and the danger issues of those models. And even though people will say what is harm in Ghibli models, it is not harm with the Ghibli models right now. Like, where we are gonna stop about it? That's the main question. And where is the borderline? We are not crossing this line above all, and then we go and cross the borderline in future, and then we will all suck and talk about how the art is lost. These are the same people who did the Ghibli trade and not took the concern about how we are not basically thinking about the safety of it, thinking about the people who have put decades, years, and you know, getting those art done, getting those art style kind of a life, give that art style kind of a life. Like, I don't know how is that AI is going to basically create an art, and how you call it even an AI art. It's literally a copy paste of what is done by, let's say, decades for from the Ghibli studio by from their movies, and this AI just stores the data from them and just makes the Ghibli art. I don't know, like how is these AI models are even going to produce Ghibli art if Ghibli art wouldn't have existed? How would have they how would have they even make this kind of art style? And we are making it accessible to thousands of billions of people all around the world without even concerning about the studio what they think about their art. Is like you know so again, this still like again like what I'm we are going on a different tangent about art films again, but this chain of thoughts where we are what we are not seeing in this chain of thoughts what internal AI models are thinking, quite scary. People again go to the dystopian stuff which blowing the humanity, but which is kind of an right. I like the anthropic people who are doing constant research about AI and its flaws and how we can use AI for the benefit of us and for benefit of all of us rather than just making a company and trying to grab billions of dollars and nothing more. It's like for some people it's just about money, and for some people it is much more about helping the consumers and respecting each other and going forward again with back and forth. So I help so I will link down the research paper in the description within show notes. I hope you read it if you like it, but let me know in the comment section down what you think about this kind of stuff, especially about Ghibli art, like we talked about it last week, but especially this of chain of thoughts that we are not seeing that we need to know, you know, those kind of things. Uh, and safety regarding AI, what you think about those, and if you have any kind of different perspective, also comment. We will make an whole podcast where I can read your all comments about what I think about your perspective and how we can implement it and how we can, let's say, with this help of this, not just my platform, but with the help of it, our what we are going through in the community, especially in the tech world, just make it out to the world to all people. When people need to see this kind of stuff. So your perspective matters. Let me know in the comment section. We will take a break, and after that, we are gonna talk about the Apple Meta case in going on ongoing on Brazil, couple of iOS features, and then after some small updates. But right now, let's just take some breaks. We will be right back. Hello everyone, hope you guys are enjoying this podcast. But if you are much of a reader than listening to this hour-long podcast, I have got it perfectly covered in those cases too, with my own Monday weekly news on my own newsletter, where I will be curated news that in the tech industry by myself, with short contextual base, which will be better to understand for everyone. And the best part about it, it's free and always will be. It's short, simple, it is easy to understand, and covering all the major topics in the tech industry, which is up to date. So it has its own perks, and I will highly recommend do go and subscribe to my own newsletter. That is, the link will be down in the description. So let's talk about Apple. We have a couple of news, small news, and some couple of rumors regarding Apple. So we have been talking lots of AI stuff for Apple for last couple of episodes, and now that it has been settled, we have a couple of new updates regarding new iOS 18.4 features that are coming more majorly for Photos app. Then, uh, then there is a rumor regarding in the next iOS 19 update. We have seen that we are seeing that the rumor again, which is Apple is going to enter in the most, I will say, the most insane design change that they are going through in the next iOS 19 update. That is the rumor that is going on. Specifically, Mark Gurman tweeted about it, and a lot of articles covered about it. But from this whole new design changes that are people are speculating on the internet and talking over Twitter, my interest was on one part, that was healthcare kind of an app or subscription system. So before going there, let's talk about the new features about iOS 18.4, which is available for everyone. I just 2 days ago I just did my updated my iOS 18.4 update. That it was again couple of like on Friday I did it. So last week, couple of days ago. It is a big update because it is 18.4. There are a couple of set of new features for Photos app, which people who are not happy with the whole redesign and having design flaws or having issues with the handling the Photos app and not getting it quite right, there are much more options regarding the edit system. Basically, you can much more customization is now available than before. So the new two main features available to filter out the photos in the Photos app are now added, which is called shared with you and not in an album. So basically, if you don't know, when you open the Photos app, there is an up and down arrow kind of a circle. I will Here is the photo if you don't know, but for the audio listeners, if you open your Photos app in your iPhone, when you see the photos, there is bar like there are a couple of buttons at the last, like where you can see the photos, videos, like the filters, and there is also a arrow kind of a system, like two-way arrow, small one, where you can click there, and there is an option for the filters basically, where you can sort the whole photos library with videos, airdrop, or I think photo screenshots, most of things. And now these two options will be added there. So now the share with view means whatever the photos are shared with you will be only seen when you click on this option, and when you select not in an album, the photos that you will see when you apply this filter will be applied to the whole photos library, and you will see the photos that are not in any kind of album. So these are the two features for the filtration of whole photos library, that which is a main library where all photos, videos, screenshots are together. And then there is again two option. There is reorder the collection with edit option. So basically there is an edit option in the collection, which is basically when you scroll down in the Photos app, you will see a lot of collections there. Basically, when Photos app got redesigned, it is everyone in one scroll. So when you scroll down, you will see the albums, everything down there. So now there is much more editing option, which you can go and check, which is mostly I don't do much. I have not changed the reorder since the update that I have gotten, because I don't have much kind of an issue with the Photos app. But if you are one of the person who is finding hard to get the grasp of the whole Photos app, because I get the point where people are using the whole Photos app for like 10 plus years, which is the same UI and just suddenly getting changed, which is not easy for most of the people to get those muscle memories uh, with a different UI. But yeah, then there is another option which is called disable recently viewed slash shared albums in the settings of the photos. So basically, if you can hide your utilities, in the utilities there is a hidden folder, you can hide it. but now there is an also option to hide shared folders and recently viewed folders, basically albums. That if whatever the albums you have recently viewed can be hidden and will not be seen by anyone who has basically like just seeing, just like catching up. Basically it is disabled to not let people see what the recent albums you have seen. So it is kind of an again a filtration option that which might be a good for you, for much people who wants to much more editorial options on the Photos app. So that's it. I think these are the major 18.4 update for me. Then there is they changed the I think the browser's video. They again changed some kind of animation regarding it when you play plus 10 second further, you know. So one thing is there. So but yeah, there are some small changes I might not have here added, or might not have spoken here in the podcast. But if you want to know much more about it, 18.4, like this kind of small stuff, I mostly covered it on my newsletter because it is easy to just read those things and not include in the videos. So if you want to get much more into the this kind of small updates in much more faster fashion and read it and just like try it out, you can just subscribe to my newsletter, which is free. Link will be down in the description. But moving on to the next uh, rumor that is having, which is health subscription app, you could say. So basically Apple is working on the health app which can be added on apple Apple One subscription, like a bundle in the whole subscription model of Apple, which is interesting. But one thing with this whole health app, what got me interested is that Apple is getting into much more interesting stuff right now. Is because when these big companies where people trust these companies, where most Apple's branding is about people, is about privacy, is about safety, and then when Apple is getting into health stuff, which is again serious because most of the people do use mm, uh, their smartwatch, which is for fitness tracking, for like for health concerns for people. There are a lot of much, I will say, really good stuff there too. But now they are making, I think, one step ahead with AI. I don't know, they are naming it, going to name it AI because it sounds so non-human, at least right in the stage we are right now in the AI era. But uh, the like AI doctors kind of a stuff, that that is, these are kind of the rumors that we are getting, like doctors advice, kind of an advice things, or much more in-depth things about your health, I think, you know. And this will be all in the subscription model that is getting rumored that it will be added. You have to have a subscription for to use it. So it is interesting that Apple is getting into this gigantic again, where if they make a couple of even small mistake, the consequences of it are going to get bigger because now they're going to going into people's health kind of an advice, which is not pretty much good because if it doesn't work well, people are, it is going to affect people's health and people will be angry about it. So it is concerned. I'm concerned to even use it, those kind of stuff. I'm always concerned, but people do trust big companies, especially Apple, where it is much more branded towards people. But let's talk about what we can do better with health system that which is right now. Right now, which is definitely not good. We can definitely, a big company like this can educate people with the basic stuff. Right now, I will say, where so many fake information, so much information is there available on the internet that people get not just confused but who to trust. So I think Apple stepping up as into the health system and kind of an getting much more involved in health of people's, like giving much more advice, or yeah, advice, literally advice. And if they give it right and make it such a good let's say system where people are using it in a good way to tackle let's say fact tackle let's say things that have been told to the people, because health is one of those things is transmits towards people to people differently, and not not like majorly there are some basic stuff that applies to generally everyone, like sleep habits like generally applies to everyone. So the stuff that you see on your Apple Watch and the sleep studies regarding or the information regarding sleep applies to everyone mostly, which is a good thing because it's not a big thing because we need 8 hours of sleep. But when you go towards into specifics of let's say people regarding their issues that are having and not telling their partners, let's say not telling within their family and not going towards doctor, they again asks to internet, and internet is there like a guiding source, which is definitely not a good because not all people are like not all people will just you know think about twice things like much. Generally people just blindly trust stuff because they just have want to get better, but a lot of like things can happen in this kind of health system where Apple can make a system where it tackles basic stuff from starting out. Like people don't know is like having basic knowledge regarding health, like some systems in blood sampling, I will say some systems in regarding testings regarding, I think people should know basic stuff regarding health, whatever field you are in, you know whatever the education you have, people need to have some like especially in the industry of fitness where workouts like there can be a lot of stuff can be put out in this healthcare, like we can just there is like a broad concepts of things that Apple can apply, but let's see what happens basically because I'm much more interested in what they will implement, what they will go through, they will if because Apple is a big company. When big companies get into this kind of stuff, people are attracted, and when people when more people, not just niche people like we in the tech industry talk about stuff, but when general public talk about much of these things, much of these things that Apple is providing, which is a big company, there is a discussion in going on, and then this just helps back and forth and coming to a good conclusion ultimately, you know. So let's see what happens. Let's see what Apple goes through first of all, because it's a long time right now. At least like it's in June, the new WWDC. I do hope, like I do want an health app which basically tells of general health because people are misguided regarding so many things that have been fact checked. Even not including complicated stuff, there are some basic stuff that is fact and people should take it as a fact and take care of their health, but they don't give because some influencer have talked them into that it is not a fact. So I hope much more it goes into scientific and not a gimmick kind of a thing, and just it is a okay. Let's talk about the next stuff that is Apple going and doing mostly. That is their case with Meta AI and not Meta AI. Basically, Meta and Apple is going through a case which is going in ongoing in Brazil regarding ADT. That is called App Tracking Transparency. So, if you don't know, giving a context regarding it. So, Apple introduced tracking app tracking basically, which is whenever you download a app, there is a pop-up from the your device which comes that do you want to allow this app to track your like stuff, and then you allow just yes or no. This was introduced in a couple of years ago, where Meta's whole business is on this. So basically, what it means is like they can't track you. It is like when consumer says they don't want to be tracked, Meta has their whole business model is that like tracking people's data and selling those to the bigger companies again, even though they are big, and helping them to generate more ads, relevant ads that their whole model is based on basically. So basically they take the data from us, then the data is given to the bigger companies, then bigger companies see the data, and then those bigger companies advertise on their own, let's say Meta platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Threads now, which is also going to get an ad system. So it's kind of a loop, and Apple came into that and broke that basically cycle, where Apple asks people that do they want to even give their data. There's just people obviously don't want to. I don't want to. Then the whole business was disrupted, and Meta is vocally about it, like how it is unfair, and they are not happy, and the case and this kind of stuff is going on for like couple of years. But interesting thing here that is going on is again in Brazil that the case is going on, where Meta is accusing of Apple that right now again, where Apple is not having a good transparency regarding the app tracking system. So basically what Meta says is that app tracking applies to not like all third party apps, but does it even applies to Apple's own services like Apple Podcasts, like Apple Music, or Apple TV? Like, does app tracking applies to their own services? And investigation is going on from the court regarding this whole kind of stuff. And not just Apple, but most of the companies, even you, um, Ubisoft. No, I don't think Ubisoft. Uh, Sweeney, the CEO of Epic Store, he has also been vocal about this third party app, where Apple is dominating in this field because Apple wants people to use their services. And now because of that, again we talk again we have talked about this before, how EU, how the case was going on EU about App Store being dominant regarding how fees, 30% fees that these apps give, that these companies give to Apple, whatever the transaction is going through, and the hike is so, because of this they lose most of the customers. What is happening, if you don't understand it, let's say Spotify and Apple Music, which are both big companies, Apple, and then Spotify is not handling, they are not kind of a device, they make an app where they give people, let's say, a smaller subscription paying model than, let's say, Apple. But Apple, let's say, have an Apple Music where they also now have having the same model as, let's say, as Spotify, same pricing, but now Spotify has to pay more, about like a 30% tax to Apple, let's say. So whenever there is a transaction going on, 30% has to go to Apple. So now they have to make and rise in kind of an, you know, pricing. And then Spotify's whole claim regarding this whole case is, does this even apply to Apple Music? Why is this applied to only third party apps? This is like a unfair business practices and to crush other businesses. And basically EU has won and the other companies has won in European Union, and now there is a separate EU store in the Apple devices in all over EU that people can play, you know. So now even if you go and as an Apple user go to Spotify and check the basically if you want, like, you can't get the premium and subscription models basically from the app. And the only thing that they have written there is, we know it is hard, but yeah, that is the only thing they have written, because you can only get subscription model of Spotify through web and Android devices. And that is kind of an where Apple is pushing their luck, that people will not go through a Spotify because it is high price, and will go through Apple Music, that which is their own services. And companies claim that Apple is not giving 30% claim to their own. So basically it's like their own company. It's like, so people's claim and this company's claim is even Apple paying 30% same transaction fee towards their own services. So it is kind of a dilemma for a lot of people, a lot of companies around. And most of this Apple is losing, mostly in terms of especially 30% transaction fee, because Apple's whole business model and whole, I will say, even whole market and whole profit majorly I think comes from the subscription system, like Apple One subscription system, which includes I think music, Apple TV, and there is an Apple TV subscription system. So subscription is kind of an a way to go, and people, and like that is a kind of an good formula, but they're trying and pushing hard their luck with it. So same thing is going on with Meta here, where regarding they are talking about app tracking with social media with their own platform. So same thing is happening with the Meta and the Brazil case that is ongoing. It is under still investigation. It will always be under investigation until and unless companies are forced by the government, like the unions, like Europe Union, like government, or let's say other, but it will not stop it. It's just like a news that is going on. I wanted to cover it and give you an idea what is going on there too. So let's talk about some small news that is happening. Couple of small updates that we are going to talk about right now. Couple of small updates, couple of here and there small updates that you should know that is going on. So Gemini Live is rolling out to most of the advanced user in this week. That definitely you will get it in this week or two if you are an advanced user of Gemini. So basically, if you are a paid user, especially advanced, you will get the Gemini Live. What is Gemini Live? If you are wondering, is basically uh, if you point out a camera to something with Gemini Live, it just gives you the information regarding whatever you ask in front of camera. Let's say I point out to like say I open the camera in the Gemini Lab and I point out to my laptop and say what kind of laptop it is it good, or like kind of an specs regarding this laptop. It will search for the things and like give you answer that is in front of camera. It is kind of a live feedback, and which is quite good because it is combination of live camera feedback and also a good voice assistant, which is like both combining camera and live assistant stuff, which is insane. So it does really well. uh, I will say I will link down the mkbhd video where he talk about his crown of the month, where he's talking about the Gemini Live and it's how it's insanely good and perfect regarding stuff like giving name of the birds, cars, or even watches, and it is insanely good in those kind of stuff. So yeah, so I will link down that video of MKBHD because I am not an advanced user of Gemini Live. I could have shown to you if I had one. Don't worry, I think all free users will get Gemini Live in this end of this month, because Google I/O will come and the new features will be introduced, and the old features, majority of it, will be given to the free users. So yeah, live, if you wanna try, if you are an advanced user, go do check it out. Now, next news that is we are going to talk about is new YouTube Shorts for let's say metric has been introduced, and new editing tools for short edit on in-app YouTube. So basically, new metric has been introduced for the views. Basically, what it is if before the how the views were counted were different with comparing to this new metric. Now, what this new metric provides is basically if your short has been seen more than like let's say 4 to 5 seconds, it will have a different metric than just like a 1 second shot. If the shot has been seen for just 1 sec, what that means is that it gives creators like me a deeper, let's say, data about how many people are just watching our shot much more longer, rather than just giving the data to us that your shot has been watched, and if we have just only, what it means is like it is kind of a retention graph for shorts, which is if your short has been viewed let's say for 5 to 6 seconds, it will have a different metric called views, engaged views, where if you see in there are 1 million engaged views on a 10 million views. So basically your video has been seen from 1 million is a good thing, where 1 million people have watched that same video longer than those 10 million people. So it is kind of a good data for creators to look into more how much we can improve ourselves. So engaged views, if you are a creator, go onto YouTube Studio on web browser and just add it to your graph. If you are on YouTube mobile app, it will be added. It is still not added. I have seen it a couple of days ago. But if it adds, it will be added in couple of updates in next couple of days. So do give it a try. It is a good metric to have. But let's talk about the new edit system. So basically newer couple of some new features that has been introduced for YouTube short editing. Basically YouTube wants, especially when it comes to short, it is already on available on Instagram, and especially TikTok has their own editing in-app where you can edit a short which has insanely good edit, let's say, uh, which has really good edit timelines stuff, but YouTube didn't have those. So basically these new edits, there are a couple of new features where which is improved in terms of timeline and um, frame to beat. So basically you can now edit in a timeline. So basically before you could not be able to edit in a good timeline. So basically if you don't know a timeline, whenever you add stuff, multiple stuff in a video, layered video, that is called a timeline. And now that you can have much more powerful timeline where you can zoom in, edit with your like fingers, and do much more different stuff, like much more stuff available there. Then there is second feature for stickers, that is you can now AI generate stickers and apply to your shorts, or you can generate any kind of stickers from your existing from your photo gallery, which is quite a good to have. Then there is templates, multiple templates you can choose now, which is good to have. So if you are a shorts creator or you just want to create shorts, go check out in-app YouTube. I don't know how many people use in-app editing tool, because there are a lot of other apps available which does have good editing apps, which does give you insanely with free whatever they have for free users, which is good, I will say. Now the couple of ahead news is Threads app has introduced the new mute button. So basically mute button what every other social media app does. Basically new button Mute button is mutes the thread profile. Basically, you will mean it's basically a softer version of the block button. If you see a post, you can just mute it if you don't like it, and you will not see their post, and they the person you have muted, they will not see that, oh, this person has muted me, because it's kind of, let's say, I have always said this is a softer version of a block, where when you block someone, it is physically there that they have blocked you, because you can't people they can't see your post. But mute is a good option to have, where you can't see their post, but they don't know you have blocked them or not, which is a good thing to have. Again, I don't know why it took them a long enough, but I'm not complaining, because it is again there, thank god. Then new voices have been added to chat gpt voices. Do go and now check those voices. I will link down the video. If you again don't know what new voices, I will link down that in the show notes about what kind of new voices have been added. Yeah, these are a couple of small news that these are a couple of small news that I wanted to tell you. Then yeah, this is it for this week episode. I think a lot of AI good stuff we talk about in this episode, especially about Anthropic's new research model. I hope you guys like that stuff. Link also comment down about your thoughts in that, because I do want to know other perspectives, because having backend feedback a good thing to have, and good thing to have to boost my channel, which is again helps me to understand you much more, rather than not knowing, you know, and just me speaking again and again and again and giving just one perspective regarding anything. So Nintendo 2 is out. Let's see what happens. People are excited, but because of tariffs, lot of stuff is going to happen. The price hike is going to happen. Politicals, politics is involving or disrupting this world right now, especially US politics. Obviously, it is not affected. It is Nintendo Switch is not going to get affected in any other countries, but right now in America, it is going to affect, because the pre-order, like the statement has came from Nintendo that the pre-orders are not going to happen on 9th of April. It has been postponed, and they have to assess the new tariffs that Trump administration has President Trump has basically given to all these major countries, and so much percentage of tariffs is going to affect a lot of businesses, and the price are going to get higher. But I'm excited what, because I'm not kind of a Nintendo guy. I have not played any kind of console. Let's say I'm that kind of a guy who watches basically every video game gameplays of creators that they play. I watch, if I like a game, I just go on uh, Rad Rat's channel, I think, yeah, and just watch the whole gameplay series, because I don't have any kind of game consoles to this day, and even I don't have good PC to even play it. So I mostly play games on my phones, and yeah, I do play a lot of game on my phone. I do play Minecraft. I do play a lot of couple of games, football, e-football, or truck simulator, which is I really like. But yeah, again, uh, let's see what how tariffs are going to affect people, companies, and people, consumers, because prices are going high. Do give it a shot, whatever you are buying higher stuff right now, because it is going to get high. But yeah, this is it for this week's episode of Tech Guy Podcast. We completed 18 episodes. Let's see what happens this week's again, about mostly about tariffs. I want to talk about next week, but there are a couple of updates and there are a couple of things we can talk about in the next podcast. uh, Hope you enjoy it. Like it if you uh, kind of get any kind of good info about from this podcast. If you enjoyed your time here, spending 1 hour, like if you're still watching still to this minute, like glad, like you are the mm, kind of an old, like I will say, our main viewer there. So let's say what let's see what happens regarding this kind of stuff. Lot of interesting stuff. Again, even like couple of hours ago, Meta announced Llama 4 in Zuckerberg in WhatsApp group. If you don't know, follow him if you want to. But said they have lot of stuff coming up, and they do have two big events this year: Llama Con, and then there is Connect Meta Connect event, which is their bigger event where they talk about their glasses, their Meta new gadgets, you know. So Quest, really excited what they are going to do this year, but let's see. um I think that's it for this week's episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Let's see what we can talk about next week. But yeah, this is it for this week episode. Hope so I will see you guys in the next week, the next episode of the Tech Guy Podcast. Tech Guy Podcast. See ya.